What is up, RotoGrinders? Very special crunch time at a very special time, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Of course, 8:30 is the tip-off for tonight's final in Las Vegas. The Emirates Cup, the NBA Cup. Everybody, all the players, I think the coaches as well, get $500K. So there's lots of incentive to take this game down tonight. This tournament's been going on for a while. This is the finale. It is the OKC, the Oklahoma City Thunder, taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Myself, Head Chopper, two-time millionaire winner Chop. This is not exactly my streets. I'm not going to pretend like it is. I'm happy to host. I'm going to be participating. I'm making 10 lineups tonight on DraftKings. There is a big tournament out there, 25% up top. I think it's 20 to enter, sprinkling in some other contests as well. This is more your lane. I need to talk a lot of football stuff. I don't know if you play a lot of basketball stuff, single entry, but a lot of the similar principles, Chop, right? Basketball, of course, a little bit more predictive, but it is tricky how it works as far as the captain and all that good stuff, and we'll dig into it for the next half hour, 35 minutes. It's up to the chat. You guys let us know. As much as you're participating, the more you're, going back and forth with us, we'll stick around. The more questions you have, we'll stick around, but we do want this to be as interactive as possible. Also, per Chop's request, it is a Tuesday, meaning we're going to have a television Tuesday, meaning if you tell me what television show we're talking about, I'm talking about specifically through the clues, you tell me in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. Every few minutes or so, every 5 minutes or so, we'll drop a new clue. You get one guess per. The very first clue, we'll just go ahead and drop the first clue. Let's get the beak wet for the game. Tell me what TV show we're talking about. The first clue will be scrolling as we speak in just a second. Producer Steve's going to drop it. It is Leader. What's up, Chop? How are things?
Things are good, Dean. Leader, you didn't give me a chance to even think about the clue.
Well, there it is.
TV show.
Oh, yeah. Now you got to talk. Yeah.
All right. So, no, I mean, I have to go back to what you were saying a minute ago. No, I don't do a lot of Showdown NBA. That's not really something that, I participate in very much. It's just most of the time it's not as big of a market as NFL Showdowns. But, when the NBA Finals roll around, we definitely do a lot of content, and I am involved in a lot of this. So I got a pretty good idea of what's going on. And, I'm always taken aback by the difference in the two sites, FanDuel and DraftKings. The way they handle Showdown is just so different, and it's interesting. And I think it adds a good dynamic to be able to play both sites and get a little bit different that way. So it should be a good game. I mean, honestly, the game itself, I'm looking forward to. You got the best team from the West, and I think you've got one of the better. I think when it's all said and done, Milwaukee will be one of the best teams in the East. They're not as good as Boston, but they've definitely climbed out of the hole they built at the beginning of the season. I think they're playing really good right now. I think I see a lot more chemistry with Dame and Giannis. That goes a long ways, and I think they're going to be a good team. So I think we got two teams, and I know like last year there was a lot of blow off in this tournament, but I think these two teams right here tonight, they really want this. Not just the money, but I think these two teams really want this title here of the in-season tournament. So I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I was hanging out with the crew in Discord, and I was asking, there were some Bucks fans, and I was like, I was genuinely curious. I was not being sarcastic. I'm like, are you excited about this? Are you actually looking forward? Like, it's kind of a manufactured thing, right? It's not a lot of legacy here. But, like, they were excited. Like, yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. And, of course, like you mentioned, the players want to win. And the ones who definitely want to win, are like Dylan Jones and Brandon Carlson, that they don't want to say about it. But $500K goes a lot farther from the guys on the, 13th, 14th, 15th guy, Beauchamp, AJ Johnson, those guys. They will be waving the towels extra hard tonight on the I was going to say sidelines. Is sidelines the right word for basketball? It's not sidelines, is it? Courtside, I guess.
Courtside sounds better.
Sidelines is not the right sport. We got a poll in chat. Who's going to win? It's funny, Chop. I was looking. I know you did the expert survey today, and I believe you're on an island. I think you're the only one that picked the Bucks to win. Is that correct? You recall?
I definitely picked the Bucks to win in a low-scoring game. So I don't know if anybody else did or not, but I certainly did.
Yeah, Noto, 115, 107. OKC, you got a 104, 102. The total is 216. I'm so
way
mad
under. I'm way under on that.
I'm so annoyed that I didn't bet the under in the Houston OKC game. I'm like that number was so high for those teams. They were going to play playoff style, and they play slow, they play good defensively, and I think they almost made it interesting in the second half. But what was it? It was like 40-40 or something at the half. It was really low scoring. It was something really low, and I'm like, man, why didn't I bet this under? It seemed like an obvious one.
There's too much, Dean. You got too much stuff to bet, man. Like you got DFS, the player props. And by the way, I like the under on this game, but I can't even remember it because I got so much other stuff. We're overloaded. Dean. We're overloaded with stuff.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's like, you'll see like your account change. You're like, oh, what happened? Like, oh, I forgot I even bet that. I didn't even know. Speaking of Chop, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're probably on top of this stuff. If you're not, no worries. College football. I'm told there's a bowl game tonight. Do we have any angles for the game tonight?
There is a bowl game. Usually, I've been really good these last few years at identifying the games where, the guys are gonna probably sit out and the spread hasn't adjusted. It's a lot less this year because the playoffs are taking, so many extra teams away from that angle, where guys aren't going to sit out and the main guys aren't going to just miss the game. So I haven't seen as much this year. Tonight, no, it looks like everybody tonight is going to play that's of any significance. So I think they got the spread pretty good. I don't really have much of a lean on this game.
No.
Nah.
All right. If you have any takes going forward, I'm assuming you have some stuff in scores and odds. I don't know if it's posted just yet, or that's where you'll be putting your takes. Is that fair to say?
I usually with so much stuff going on, I usually forget to do it. But you remind me on the show because we do shows like 3 times a week with the bowl games coming up. If you remind me, I'll give you whatever I got for that day for sure.
Well, hold your thought just for 1 second. I do want to mention Splash. Want to shout out Splash, promo code ROTO10. They have a big college football contest, 11 total games. It's locking on Friday night. $50 to enter. You can win $15,000. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Chopper. This is for the national championship. Who's going to win? Who's going to win the whole thing? Is there a dark horse that's interesting? Have you considered? I know you're in Texas, and I don't think you can, unless you know a guy, you're a barber or something like that. I don't know. You have some angles, put a call on that kind of thing. But do we like any who's going to win, and like who's like the best like number as far as the odds? Have you dug into that?
Yeah, I've looked at the thing. So the best team is Oregon, but they've got a brutal schedule to get through. So I don't know that you want to go that route. But I can pull up. Penn State has a great path. I don't know that they're good enough to win it all, though, but they've got a great path. I think another good team that could win it all was Ohio State. Unfortunately, they got a tough beat too, man, with their draw. So if you had to put me on the spot, I mean, looking at it, yeah, I think maybe Texas, because I think they can get to the semis pretty easily. And then when they get there, you just never know. I think maybe Oregon has played themselves out and they're out of steam or whatever, and they're going on their second game in a short amount of time. Maybe Texas because of their path.
They're the second favorite though, Chop. What I'm saying, they're like plus 350, plus 360. Oregon plus 360, depending on where you're shopping. Kind of a 1 and 1A. The chat's talking about Notre Dame plus 750.
Man,
no,
Notre Dame's. So Notre Dame, they've got a fair path, but I think that it's a coin flip on them if they can even get past this very first game coming up this weekend on Friday. I think that's a coin flip. If they can, I think they've got a chance to get to the finals, but they won't beat the team. Whoever faces them in the finals, no chance. They don't have a chance. So no, that whole side of the bracket, I think, is in big trouble. I'd say Penn State can sneak out of that side of the bracket and get into the finals but they're going to face a good team at that point. Then, like Oregon's the best team, but man, they get a bye week, and then their second showdown is against a very tough team. And then their third game would be against Texas. Those are the top 2 favorites in this whole thing. So it's not easy for that side of the bracket at all. So, but the winner will come from that side. So I'm going to say Texas. But Again, yeah, you're not getting very much. What's the odds on Ohio State? Probably not very much either.
Plus 475, plus 500 at FanDuel, depending on where you're shopping, right? About 5-1.
Go Ohio State then. That's a little bit. If they can get past Tennessee, Tennessee's a tough game. If they get past Tennessee, then they face Oregon. They've already faced Oregon once this year. They lost by like the last possession of the game, but it was in Oregon, which is a lot of travel. So this won't be as bad. Or that game might be in Oregon too. I don't know if that second game is on the home turf or what. But Ohio State's equipped to beat them. I don't know. I'd still say Texas because they're going to win round one. They're going to win round two. Then they got one game against Oregon or Ohio State or Tennessee. Either one of those, any of those teams. They win that one, they win it all. That's it. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts initially.
All right. Let's talk about the NBA Cup. Again, just one game, 216 is the total. Neutral site there in Vegas. Not a very high number, but it's the only game we're dealing with. OKC, best defensive team in the league. They better rebounding since Hartenstein has showed up. They were the worst rebounding team in basketball before Hartenstein showed up. And their last 10 games, they're basically neutral. They're basically even. He's made a drastic difference. One of the big questions, I think, one of the starting points, I suppose, like SGA, Giannis. I know there's Lillard and there's, Jalen Williams, kind of the step down on both sides. But star scrubs, how much are we prioritizing SGA and Giannis, and how much are we prioritizing them in the captain or the MVP, if you will? Thoughts on that? Just general thoughts as far as the game as I go ahead and tell the people. Clue number two for our game is cat. Cat chop is clue number 2. And again, I did it again. I can't let you think. You're trying to think about the clue, but you can't because you didn't answer my question.
Yeah. So in this game right here, it's a little bit interesting that every game is takes on its own. There's no set template in a showdown. Sometimes if there's a cheaper guy and he's being projected really well, then that obviously becomes your captain, because you want that value there and let you load up elsewhere. But if your star players are so much more projected so much higher than everybody else in the game, it makes it very, very difficult to get away from those guys in that captain spot. So in this particular game, I don't see the value players having anywhere near close enough to a ceiling to squeeze Giannis and SGA out of that captain spot at the end of the day in the optimal. So those guys I've got to have in there. I've got to have one of those guys in the captain spot. It's obviously way different on FanDuel. There's no salary implications, so you're just taking the best, and then the best, and just trying to squeeze whatever you can on your roster in those last 3 spots. But
this is what I have, by the way, just to let you know. I ran some optimal stuff. I added some juice, and like you said, for FanDuel, Giannis, 52% MVP, 47% SGA, and 1%, one very, very lonely Jalen Williams, which, you tell yourself a story, it's possible, right? I suppose he'd be the top scorer in the game. SGA, Giannis, Williams, Hartenstein, Lillard for their second tier, which is the star. And as far as the pro, Hartenstein's the most popular guy hitting the pro at 40%, Jalen Williams at 24%. But the more interesting thing as far as the dynamic of the 1.5 on DK, and kind of to your point, 1 and 2 are Giannis and SGA. It's 29% Giannis, 27% SGA, and then 15% Kason Wallace, because he's the guy that opens stuff up. You can play Kason Wallace and get 2.5 stars. You can play him with Giannis, you can play him with SGA and a Hartenstein. So that's the first guy that he always has to put up, like 25, give or take. You probably need to avoid like a 90-point game, an 85-point game out of SGA or Giannis. Hartenstein hitting at 9%, Jalen Williams 5%, Lillard 5%. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chop. I just wanted to add some color as far as the conversation. And to your point, more than half of the lineups on DK that I'm getting, as far as with lineup HQ, some optimal stuff, and we have either Giannis or SGA. And your preference amongst the two, who's your lean amongst the two big studs?
Giannis. For me, it's not even, I hate to say this, I'm putting the jinx on him, but it's not even close. I like Giannis a lot for reasons we'll talk about in a minute. But I think this is a big Giannis game. So I know SGA has the full toolbox, but Giannis is just so explosive, man. I like Giannis a lot tonight. He's my. I'm running a few lineups on FanDuel. He's the locked in MVP, and I'm running. I want to say 3 or so lineups on DraftKings, and he'll be my locked in captain.
I was curious as far as his history versus OKC, and obviously this team has changed pretty drastically of late. He's only played them once since 2022. He put up, this is 2024. He had 61 DK points, 34 minutes, 30 points, 19 rebounds. In 2022, he had 67 DK points. In 2021, he had 66, 73, 74. His last 5, at least 61. That's the worst of late. But again, this team has changed, so I don't really know what to draw from that. The other hole, if we're going to poke a hole in Giannis, is that, he's not a great outside shooter. He's kind of stopped doing that. He's a slasher inside. In transition, he's awesome. But the Thunder are the best team as far as limiting scoring at the bucket in the paint. Now, Giannis is like, matchup proof. And that's probably the counterpoint. We're going to go point counterpoint. Chop, that is not correct. It is a good guess, but it's not correct.
Okay. You haven't even seen that show anyway, so I don't even know why I guess
I have seen that show.
Oh, so you didn't see it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't like it fell off the first few years are fun. Sons of Anarchy. It's not Sons of Anarchy. There's a clue for the people. But Chop, you give me the sales pitch for Giannis. You just think like he's just going to go full Superman mode, and that's that.
I get the OKC not letting you get to the rim and shoot a good percentage. Yeah. Understandable, but they give up points. Like they're not shutting people out. This isn't football or baseball. They're giving up, even in a bad, like just bogged down something. They're going to give up 90 plus points. How do they give them up? One thing they do is they foul a lot, and Giannis draws more foul, gets to the free throw line as well, if not better than anybody in the NBA. So you've got that angle of it. Another thing they also do is they don't let you at the bucket. They try to force you to the three-point line where they defend you and make you shoot a low percentage, but you can squeeze in the middle, and they do give up a lot in the mid-range. And that's something Giannis can also do, is step in for the mid-range shot, which he does quite a bit. So, just trying to find angles here in this thing. They're going to score points. Let's say they have a poor offensive game and they score 90 to 95 points. Like, he's going to account for a lot of them because that's what he does, and he can do it via the mid-range and get into the foul line. So that would be my sales pitch for Giannis, is there are angles for him to score on this defense. They're a great defense, but even the best defenses in the NBA's history, they've got to give up points. That's just the way it is.
We were having a tech issue earlier today as far as ownership stuff, but we have ownership now. So give a refresh on the lineup HQ if you haven't already. I'm looking at the most popular plays on DK specifically. Our most popular captain, according to ownership, it's a chop between Giannis and SGA, both at 27%, and then Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, both at 10%. Gary Trent at 7%. I really don't like that. I don't like. And I want to discuss that too in a second, Chop. I want to discuss rules because I think there's some. I don't want to say pretty clear. I don't want to make anything too constricting. But at the same time, I think I'm going to limit my Milwaukee wings, like, the fringy wings. We can just kind of run Andre Jackson, Prince, Trent, Green, Connaughton, like to 1, maybe 2, but definitely no more than 2. And we can kind of do the same thing for the OKC side with Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Wallace, Dort, like no more than 2, possibly 3 of those. Do you have any rules like that?
No, I'm not setting rules. I don't need to have rules like that because I'm just going to hand build everything so I can see it with my eyes. I don't need to. Gotcha. I'm not running it, but I understand that. And to be honest with you, I mean, if you want an edge in DFS anymore, it's things like that. Just do Showdown NBA. If you know the rotations and you know what guys need to, not be played in the same lineups, and you just stuck to one thing like NBA Showdown, you could be successful. But Now you're going to get a game like tonight where everybody's going to get in there. But I agree, the rules, rules like that, if you're running 150 or you're strictly relying on the optimizer, definitely set some rules like that. I don't need to because I'm hand building, so I'm gonna make it look good.
I'm drawing up the expert survey again. I saw yourself, Noto, Stevie, Taylor, and one of the rules Taylor put in, like everybody's like one of the things they ask, one of the questions, like, what are you doing with SimLabs? What are you doing with the lineup HQ? And he's going to set a group of no more than one of Green, Jackson, Trent, Prince, and I like that. I think I was thinking about adding Middleton to that, but if I add Middleton to that, I would make it 2. So if you want to add Middleton to that, I would cap it at 2.
Well, I don't think Middleton matters now. He's doubtful.
What? When did that happen?
About an hour ago. Middleton is doubtful for Tuesday. So
I just missed that. Oh, he's ill. Wow. It's funny. I was looking at our projections and there was an update, and I didn't realize that he was kicked out.
He was never.
He doesn't play a lot of minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's only been about 20 minutes or so, and he's not somebody I was even thinking about playing. And it'll boost a couple people slightly. I don't know that it matters too much, but yeah, he's not there. And the problem with some of that stuff in Showdown is you don't want it to. I get it, but you don't want it to restrict you too much. So if you're only going to play one of those guys, then what's the roster's going to look like? Then you're going to get like 4 OKC guys from the same position, kind of, or same archetype. You gotta be careful with too much bogged down rules. But I get it.
I agree. Sure. Yeah, because sometimes you rule yourself out of the nuts, right? You just make a rule where there's no chance you can get there the way things play out. But one of those guys you're gonna have Giannis, SGA, one of the friends, then maybe 2 of Wallace, Dort, Joe, Wiggins, Caruso, something like that. And just hopefully you land on the right combination of it. But I do agree. I don't want to overrule, right? You don't want to put too many out there. Let's go ahead and drop that third clue for the people. I see a lot of guesses in the Discord channels. Nobody's got it just yet. It's not Inspector Gadget. It is not Orange is the New Black or Sons of Anarchy or Prison Break. Clue number 3, this might change things. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium if you guess this correctly in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. It is Circle. Circle is the third clue. Leader, Cat, and Circle. Do you have a favorite amongst the kind of sort of somewhat cheapies? I'm trying to think where we would cut cheapies. Maybe Alex Caruso. I'm on DK right now. Yeah, so Wallace is 7'2", Caruso 6'6", Prince 6K, Trent 5'4". You have a favorite amongst that sort of grouping?
Let me see here. Okay, so there's what was our cutoff on DK?
Start with Caruso and kind of work your way down.
At that point, yeah. Okay, so
Wallace,
we're doing like main slate. Obviously, none of these guys I'm going to play probably, right? Like projected that low. Caruso and Wallace project pretty decently tonight. So, if you've got the money to go Caruso and Wallace, they're clearly a step above everybody else who's below them. But let's talk about the guys 4K or below. That starts with Prince and works into Trent and Andre Jackson and those guys. If you're asking me for a true big-time salary saver down there, I think maybe AJ Green. It's just a shot like way in the dark, And
I like that call.
We've already talked about OKC and their tendencies on defense, giving up the 3-pointers, or a lot of them, an attempt to give up a lot of 3-pointers, force you out of the paint. Well, AJ Green's a pretty good 3-point shooter. He's also a pretty good volume and percentage 3-point shooter from the corners. That's something that OKC does. I don't want to say they struggle with it because they're a really good defense in general, but if they did have a weakness on the 3-point line, it's closing out to the corner spots. So maybe AJ Green, who's their most prolific corner 3-point shooter, gets there in that route. So it's probably AJ Green down there.
OKC, like you said, just the defense is so good all around, right? They shut you down inside. They've only give up the fifth most they give the 5th least made threes on the season. Milwaukee kind of middle of the road. OKC gives up 12.6 per game. But Green, yeah, he's got to get there through threes. They also have Prince, more expensive, but like he's been the best 3-point shooter in basketball, I believe, percentage-wise, amongst qualifiers, unless things have changed. I know he's been that for a while throughout the season. You have any sort of like 2-4? Are you forced anything like that, or 3-3, or that's just you're building lineups by hand, and whatever happens, happens?
No, I'm not even worried about that, because I'll have Giannis in the top spot, and then I'll probably have SGA also on every lineup as a flex. And so for there, it's just about squeezing in different combinations of salary, because I kind of don't even like, I'm going to totally get it might just completely sink me. This is the way you got to play. And this is DFS, man. You're probably going to lose anyway. So it's going to take me completely away from a guy like Dame, who could break, everything.
Mm-hmm.
He might be the guy, and I faded him, and that's that. But I got to fade him to get the rosters I want. So then I'll live on that lower range, because I took those 2 stars, and then whatever side they come from doesn't really bother me. I just want different combinations around SGA and Giannis. So I don't have any rules like that. No.
Lillard, 18% in the utility is pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just tougher to get to him. It's harder to justify. But if he put like 35 points in the bucket, are you going to be shocked if he hits like 6 or 7 threes? I wouldn't think so. Lopez is not getting a lot of love at all in our ownership stuff. Brooke Lopez, any interest there? I probably wouldn't play Lopez and Portis together. Probably not. I don't know if I would restrict it fully, but I would try to stay away from that. Favorite amongst those two? Any interest as far as Portis or Lopez?
So I think I put in the survey that Portis was a fade for me, and yeah, I'm a little iffy on that. I probably won't play any Portis, but there is definitely a path for him to do well. But between those two, Lopez is definitely a guy I want, and I'll have in a lot of rosters. Now, I think it could be either or. I think either Portis could have a good game, or Lopez could have a good. They're both not going to have a good game unless something crazy happens to Giannis and he has to leave early or something like that. But Lopez, like, we talk about this good defense, but for OKC, but you don't see too many real 7-footers who actually thrive from the 3-point line and all that good. So maybe there is a path for Lopez to do something that this defense doesn't see that much. So Lopez, my hot take in the survey was, because they give up a high volume of 3-point shots, maybe he can shoot over the top of them and actually have some success and drain a lot of 3-pointers. So I like Lopez.
Yeah, I was looking at the hot takes. By the way, Chop, you're going to be excited. You got it right.
No way.
You guessed it correctly. You beat the entire chat. Nobody in chat got the answer.
Dang, I got it.
You have mastered Television Tuesday. Let's give chat the fourth clue as we continue. But Chop nailed it. Fourth clue is point. So leader, cat, circle. Do you want a free week of RG Premium, or you want a free week of scores and odds, which you sometimes contribute to?
Well, Dean, I have both of those already. So let's give it to.
Well, no, somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to win it. And
let's give my share away to Butho. Butho deserves it, man. He's a friend of the chat. Let's give Butho a week of scores and odds. Come on, man.
Steve, we can make that work.
Somebody step that up. Just a week of scores and odds for Butho, man.
All right, we can make that work. I imagine
he's here all the time, Dean. He helps out with the chat. He might as well have a moderator next to his name, because he's keeping the chat in order a lot.
I get it. It's a good call.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Good peoples. That's my peoples.
All right, but how do we get his information if he's not in Discord? I don't think he's in Discord. I suppose we can figure that out in some way. But yeah, we'll hook it up. We'll make it happen for sure. Clue number 4 has been dropped. The other hot takes, by the way. It's funny because you said Lopez is going to have a big day, and Stevie likes Portis. So, you get one of those two probably has a pretty good game. Noto was talking about Kason Wallace, who I think he was even talking about captaining him, and it wasn't, he's one of the guys that looks okay as a captain. He's been playing a lot of minutes of late. And then Taylor went a different angle. He just went for blowout and says maybe AJ Mitchell is the guy that, maybe Sometimes we've seen if you could put up like 8 points or sometimes 0 points, just because it makes it work salary wise, and it's hard to predict those kind of things. But maybe this is one of those days where somebody that puts like 3 points in your utility spot. But AJ Mitchell is the cheapest guy that we have that's projected to get any sort of run, I believe. I want to confirm that. That's the way it was earlier. He's projected to have. Oh, well, you know what? It's changed with Middleton. Pat Connaughton now at 1K is projected to play 2 minutes, which is kind of fringy. DeLon Wright for a few minutes. AJ Mitchell. Those guys are like in the 1K area on DK. And if they put up like 10, it's a miracle. Do you think you're going to scrape that barrel or not necessarily? Probably not.
No, nah. There's too much good stuff in the in that range just above that to where I don't need to go that route. So AJ Mitchell is borderline to me. I think that's the one guy that I think, on a certain roster, he might end up as a flex, but those other guys not cutting the mustard.
All right.
What does that even mean, D? What does cut the mustard mean? Like
what is the origin of that? I mean, I've heard people say, you've heard somebody else say you're older, but you were a kid, but you don't know what that actually means. Yeah, I know cut the cheese. You know, cut the cheese.
Well, we know what that means. That's not pertinent to this conversation, sir.
Well, maybe they're linked in some way. Let's see. Where does the phrase come from? This is important stuff. Let's see. It appears in the American origin. Let's see. Apparently, the phrase originated in Galveston, Texas newspaper in 1891, according to dictionary. The author, O. Henry, who also had a candy bar. I don't know if that's the same guy or not. Maybe it's a different guy. Spent many years in Texas, where he may have picked up the expression used to cut the mustard in 1907 collection of short stories, The Heart of the West. I looked around and found a proposition that exactly cut the mustard. So there you go. Yeah, there's those specific. I don't need to tell you the Texas sayings. I guess that's the origin story of cut the mustard.
Well, Dean, that's incredibly ironic because I am from Galveston, Texas.
Well, yeah, I know. I knew you're a Texas guy. So there you go. Do a lot of your family members use that? Is that
no?
I don't know if that's.
I mean, nobody uses it.
Is O. Henry is there a picture of him on the wall in your house? Is it this? You're not related to O. Henry.
But did you know that's where the documents were signed to free the slaves back in the day? That's where
in Galveston.
Is that where Juneteenth? Is that Juneteenth? That's where Juneteenth comes from.
Texas.
Galveston. They were the ones who signed the emancipation and freed the slaves in Texas. Got the ball rolling. So it's a lot of history. A lot of history in that great city, man.
How far away is that from Dallas, Galveston? I'm aware of Galveston. Very been
5.5 hours, 5.5 hour drive.
So what is that the closest big in the triangle? What's the closest one?
No. Houston's about 45 minutes away. Downtown Houston, you can get there in about 45 minutes.
Chili wants to know if you have beef with Charles Barkley. I don't know what.
I don't necessarily have beef. I think a lot of the things he said was true, but
what did he say?
He's also
not a woman.
He said he's not. He said the Galveston beaches were nasty. There are times where the Galveston beaches are not great because you'll get in there if the city hadn't gone in there and done the proper work to it that day, then you ain't gonna get a good beach. But sometimes it's nice. I mean, I'm not hanging out at the Galveston beach very much. It is pretty rowdy.
We have another clue dropped. We want to get a winner, obviously, before we step aside and get out of here. I have a bunch of clues I didn't even use. I wrote down like 9 or so, and then I whittled it down. But this should get somebody there if you don't see it scrolling. Different time. So leader, cat, circle, point, different time. Different time is the last clue. So again, John's comment and Jeff just made me laugh. I don't know if we can put that in the screen or not, but John, there you go. Thank you. John Gotti. Shout out to John Gotti. Who is he? I didn't know is he still with us? I didn't know he was still with us. But shout out to John Gotti. Either way.
No, I think it's Junior now, who's old.
Okay, yeah. Didn't Travolta play John Gotti in a very forgettable movie? I feel like that happened and it wasn't very good. All right. It is not Mork and Mindy or Happy Days, but the chat is on the right track to some degree. I'll give you a bonus clue. Think about where one of these teams is from that's playing basketball tonight. There's a bonus clue. There you go. We might get a couple more bonus clues before, because we do want to give away a week free premium. Who's the boldest fade, Chop? Well, you're talking about probably not playing SGA and the captain. I don't know if that's a fade. It's kind of a half fade, I suppose. What's your boldest fade?
I mean, the boldest fade is not it's not necessarily like intentional. It's just the way the rosters are going, and it's Damian Lillard. It's not that I think he's going to have this poor. I actually think Damian Lillard could have a good game. He's another guy who gets to the free throw line a lot, and so he can draw a lot of fouls and all that good stuff. But the salary just doesn't allow you to go Giannis up top, SGA, and Lillard. I think you have too many weaknesses on your roster if you do that. So Lillard's going to get left out in the cold for me. So unfortunately, not that I think he has a bad performance, but Damian Lillard is going to end up being a fade for me.
We got a winner in Discord. Shout out to Blink182 Rue. The answer, the clues, leader. Leader was clue number 1. And another word for leader is like the foreman of a job. And one of the characters, several characters in the show, that is their last name. Cat was the second clue. One of the characters' name is Kitty. The third clue is Circle. This TV show, they did the same gimmick, I think, every single episode. I don't watch every episode. I've seen enough. I'm pretty sure it was the gimmick they did every single episode where they sat around in a circle and had conversations and were under the influence many times. Point is in reference to the city. I think it's a made-up city, Point Place. 5 is a different time. It was in the 1970s. Point Place was in Wisconsin, which, of course, is where Milwaukee is. Chop, tell them the answer if they haven't figured it out just yet.
That 70s show.
Did you like that 70s show? Were you that 70s show guy?
Not like off the chain, like sitting down every week to watch it or anything like that. No, it's a solid show that ended up having a pretty interesting cast of characters down the road. But yeah, no. And then they came out with a 90s show recently.
It really flopped, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, they rebooted it. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, I didn't like. I think I caught a couple episodes. I couldn't watch any more of that. So
I think it was on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. And do you know, like, the time we're in right now, I think it's shorter than the distance of, like, somebody did this, like, when you were a kid or whatever, like, Happy Days seemed like like that's so far long ago, but that was a shorter distance than right now to, like, the 90s show. It's just kind of, you want to blow your mind and, oh yeah, that's right. Feel kind of old. Chop, anything else you want to say as far as the slate? I know we got Plums plays. That's kind of exclusive to football, but we're gonna do it for tonight's showdown slate. You want to give the people? I know we have a nice, fancy, fun graphic. Should we just run the graphic for Plums? Let's do that.
Do it.
There you go. Ashley Schaefer, Will Ferrell, Chop, Plums play. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little too easy to say the stars necessarily. So I'm going to go in the mid-range. I've already hinted at it. I think somebody for Milwaukee throws up volume from the three-point line, and you're just hoping they get hot. I'm going to go with Brook Lopez. Maybe he breaks it. He's done it before. Maybe he can do it tonight for us. So Brook Lopez is my Feel It in the Plums play of the night.
How many minutes are we giving Hartenstein? 34. Yeah. I'm a little bit concerned about him getting in the foul trouble with Giannis. A little bit concerning, but if he can play 34 minutes tonight, I like Hartenstein. Jalen Williams is kind of sort of, I don't want to say sneaky, but like he's sort of like the Lillard of OKC, where if you're going to spend that much for Williams, you might as well figure out a way to just spend it on SGA. But I'll go a little bit less. I will take Hartenstein as my Plums play. Chokehold saying who benefits the most with Middleton out. I don't think there's like one player. It's sort of a collection of wings. That's sort of what we're kind of alluding to. Prince, Trent. I guess maybe it's Trent is probably the answer, but it's just whoever's out there making threes is going to stick around. If Green's making his threes, he'll stick around. If Trent's making his threes, he'll stick around. If not, they're worthless.
I mean, he was playing about 20 minutes. Certainly wasn't taking those minutes from Giannis or Dame. It was just taking them from the mix of those other players. And he was only taking about 7-8 shots a game, like nothing big. That'll just be dispersed among everybody. I don't think that moves the needle hardly at all.
By the way, officially Middleton has been ruled out as of like a second ago. So yeah, he had the fish, or he had the I don't know, what's the worst buffet in Vegas? I'm trying to think what.
Oh my God. Let me tell you, Dean. One time Dan came in bragging about these clams from this Vegas.
Oh yeah.
He came in bragging about these clams one time. So I was like, all right, why not? Let me go get them for lunch. Oh man, by dinner time, my trip was over, brother.
Dude, clams are risky on vacation. You know that. That's risk versus reward. Was it like an expensive, legit place? You just got a bad batch for whatever reason, or were you lowballing? Like, and you went to like off the strip? And
it was a fine place. It was it seemed okay, and it was hopping and packed, and he gave it a good review. And I guess all it takes is one bad clam. That's it. One bad clam. Let that be a life lesson. One bad clam can ruin your Vegas trip.
Are they that good though? They're not that good. They don't have a high enough ceiling.
No, I don't even know why I did, because he was talking about it. I was just like, it's like monkey see, monkey do. Let me go try some clams. Dan Bog did it. Terrible.
You know what he's doing, yeah. All right. We do appreciate y'all watching this special show. There's no basketball tomorrow, again, because it's the way the schedule is, and Thursday is fully loaded up. So there's no basketball show tomorrow. I know we're doing the Pick Six show for football. So if you guys are in the football, stay tuned for that tomorrow night. This is why you hit the smash the like button. This is why you turn notifications, so you even know that this show is happening this evening, because you wouldn't necessarily assume. And also the time, because we're doing it early. We want to get people that are coming in at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, give them a chance to catch up as well, because obviously first tip-off is not officially till 8:30 or so. I got the Thunder winning. I'm not sure if they cover. I don't want to lay those points. I might do something like in-game. I'm going to hope that Milwaukee starts out early, with the lead, and then I'll hit the Thunder, because I think the Thunder win this. I think they're just a better team. According to our chat and our poll, 189 people. So wait a second. We have 189 votes in chat. That means we must have 189 likes, I assume. Because if you can click one thing.
We have 65.
Well, how does that work, Steve? How does that math check out?
I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's being lazy.
Speaking of fuzzy math, 69% say they want the Thunder, and 30% say they want the Bucks, and that to me doesn't add up. I don't know how that works, but okay. Take it up with the YouTube's accountant. Do hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll be full-fledged into basketball come Thursday, monster slate, Friday as well. Enjoy the NBA Cup. Chopper, anything before we get out of here?
Nope. Enjoy it. Enjoy the NBA Cup, the football game, little college hoops. Be a fun little night here.
All righty. Do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all been crunched. We're out of here. Holler!